shooting down in the woods. He wouldn't leave it even if he could. 'Cause life is good, yeah!
Hickok45 here. Yes, your internet shooting companion, coming to you from the really hot hills of Middle Tennessee. Yes, it's very hot these days. But we're here in Tennessee still, the home of Dolly Parton and many other famous folks like Alvin York. Sorry, Alvin, to put you in the same sentence with Dolly Parton, but I'm sure she's proud to be mentioned alongside you. I'm pretty sure of that. Boy, I bet Dolly would like some shooting lessons. I wonder what she's doing. She needs to come by the compound, doesn't she? I could help her learn to shoot. If she doesn't already know, she probably already knows how to shoot. But anyway, I digress. Yeah, it's easy to get distracted by images that creates. What we're going to talk about today, besides Dolly, how about a little wrap-up on the Lucky Gunner machine gun shoot, a couple of comments about the old Smith & Wesson 500 you might have seen, and video games maybe, cars. Oh, I don't know. I got several little things I might talk about, and as I progress, whatever comes to mind, I'll just yak about. So, buckle up and get ready. By now, you've probably seen the Smith & Wesson 500 watermelon obliteration video that we did. Oh boy, quite a gun. A viewer contacted me and volunteered his gun for a video, and he doesn't live all that far away in the Nashville area. So I said, yeah, why not get a lot of requests for it. Save me buying one. Not sure I want one, of those anyway. And so I did borrow that, and it's an interesting piece of hardware. We will put it through its paces. I'll give you my honest impressions of that wonderful firearm, and just be honest about the crazy thing. I'm not sure what to think about it. I've shot it now about 15 times, and what a handful for one thing. It really does recoil. And it's not so much the recoil as it really slaps your hand hard. At least the 8-inch barrel one does. With the ammo I'm firing, I have some MagTech 400 grain ammo I bought, and we bought some on the way back from Pittsburgh. We knew we would. This fellow offered us generously offered to let us borrow it. It's been a month or so ago, and we were so busy. I was busy with work so much I didn't want to take it and keep it for 2 or 3 weeks. So I told him I'd give him a holler when I was ready to start my vacation here in June, and that's kind of what we did. But I knew we'd be doing it, so we ran by a Cabela's coming back from Pittsburgh. Pleasant surprise. I'd forgotten there was one up there. I think it was in the corner of West Virginia or somewhere. We stopped in there, walked around a little bit, and I picked up a box of HSM Custom Plus ammunition. And it is 350 grain ammo, hollow point, jacketed hollow point, 350 grain. And it feels about the same power factor as the MagTech. I don't know, I can tell any difference. It's like, maybe it's like the difference between a small nuclear warhead and a large nuclear warhead. It's hard to tell the difference. But, in fact, that's what we shot the pumpkins with. The 5 shots we took there were with the HSM. It's hollow point. I didn't figure it'd probably make much difference. If 50 grains lighter than the MagTech, figured maybe it's more velocity. In fact, it's hollow point. Probably wouldn't make any difference in a watermelon, but I don't know. Perhaps a little more velocity would be more likely to damage the watermelons. And as you saw, it does quite damage the watermelons. But anyway, that is a piece of work. I don't know if you've ever fired one, but it's an experience. As I was saying, recoil doesn't bother me too much. And the gun is really not hard to handle, but it does slap your palm. It slaps your hand hard. It comes back at you hard, and actually stings, hurts a little bit. I guess it's one of the rare occasions where I'm ever hurt by recoil. I don't care if a gun knocks me around. I had a 458 Win Mag. I've told you, I used to shoot that thing. I could shoot it and shoot it and shoot it. It would knock you back, but it's kind of like someone pushing you, punching on you a little bit without it hurting, But this thing, it does slap your hand. I've not noticed any wrist damage. My wrist feels fine. I've kind of monitored that. I'm not a young guy. I don't want to wreck my wrist and, break a bone or something in my wrist shooting something like this. But, and you never know. I have read and heard people talk about some of these big elephant guns, and after shooting them a period of time, they actually end up with shoulder issues and inner ear issues just from the jar, the vibration. You think it doesn't hurt you. I'm a man, I can take it, but it's actually doing damage. I don't know how much truth there is in that. But anyway, I enjoy shooting. I don't want to get into a situation like that where I'm actually damaging my body or something and then not be able to shoot. So it's not totally out of the question. That thing's pretty powerful. So anyway, it does slap your hand pretty hard, and it hurts a little bit. But, I still shoot 5 and then, work my wrist and shoot again. It's not like I wouldn't want to shoot 100 in a row, but I think I could shoot 20 of them without, any serious problems. So we're going to do a video, a real video with it. I'm not sure how many times I'll shoot it. It won't be 50 shots. It won't be 30 shots probably. It is $2.50, $3 per shot. But more than that, it's the pain involved. So we'll do a video and talk about it and tell you what I know and show it and give you my impressions. And, we'll shoot a couple things and have some fun with it before we send it back to the owner. And I'll let you know whether or not it's something I think I might want, at that point. Or if it's something I think you might want or something you might enjoy. Or maybe I can give you some impressions of who I think might enjoy something like this. And I end up with certain guns now that I maybe would not have had, 5 years ago, 3 years ago, 2 years ago. The YouTube thing, trying to answer requests to some extent, to the extent that we can, and are willing to. I'm not going to try to locate something that I have a hard time getting a hold of or whatever, just because 5 people want to see it shot. Again, we get a request for basically every gun that's made almost every day. So, but we know realistically, we know what kinds of guns people would enjoy seeing and what they would like to see them do. Obviously, if you have a gun that's powerful, there's got to be some melons involved, right? So we've known that for months. And, and then some other things we might shoot with it. But, there's no limit to what you could do with a gun like that. And, there's always another video idea. Shoot some lumber, shoot a tree. What size tree would it go through? And just various things. But we'll do enough of that to have some fun with it before we send it back. And I put my wrist in a splint. So quite an animal, though. It really is. That cartridge, you just want to pull one of those out and look at it every now. It's just, you're in disbelief. What that thing looks like and how big the cartridge is. I'm used to big bullets and heavy bullets and 45 70s. I load, again, I'm one of the Foxworthy's rednecks, gun nuts or whatever. He needs a book on gun nuts. I could give him several jokes for that one, except they wouldn't be jokes. They'd be descriptions of me. One of them would have to be, you might be a gun nut if you hand load 45 70 on a progressive press. Things like that. So. But anyway, I digress. We'll show you some more of that though as we move along. I'm sure if you're listening to this broadcast that most of you, if not all of you, have seen the Lucky Gunner machine gun shoot video we did, and that's one of the reasons. Of course, we went to the shoot. We accepted the invitation. We knew we could get some really neat footage for you and some footage of cool stuff. And shoot some cool stuff. So that was great. It was obviously a promotion for Lucky Gunner Ammunition, their website and everything. But those are great folks, and I was glad to be invited. I'm not sure who all was invited, but it was fine with me. I was glad to wear the T-shirt and be a part of it for the weekend. No problem at all. Man, great food and fun was had by everybody. I guarantee you, it was a lot of fun. Met a lot of bloggers there. I don't get out into the blogging or the blogosphere as much in terms of the shooting and the firearms related blogosphere as I really would like to. I don't get to other people's YouTube channels as much as I'd like to. I spend so much time doing everything else in my life, and then plus the second job almost of managing the YouTube channel, which is a labor of love. But anyway, there were some interesting guys there, gals, the bloggers around the country. It was neat to meet them and chat with them, and then some other YouTubers, as you saw. And I didn't know who was going to be there. They published a partial list, I think, if you sent in and asked for it or something. I never did do this. I really didn't even know walking in who would be there. We were having a meal the night we got there, and we found out that Such and FPS Russia were going to be there. The only other YouTubers, or maybe one other one, but there were anyway that they were there, and so that was kind of neat. I thought, oh, cool. It's really cool. I've communicated with Such. Well, I communicated with FPS Russia actually once or twice, but had several times communicated with Such, and so it was really neat to see him. We spent a lot of time with Such that weekend, just just chatting about YouTube stuff or whatever. He's just a good guy, and not that FPS Russia isn't. We sat around and chatted with him a good bit too. And I know he catches a lot of grief for whatever he does on his channel, and we all catch some grief. Anytime you're out in the public eye, if you do anything where you come even close to deserving maybe a little grief, you're going to get slammed over and over and over again. And then if you hardly do anything to deserve any grief, you're still going to get grief. That's just the way it is in the public eye. You have thousands, maybe millions of critics, watching you. So that just happens. And I don't know. I'm not going to judge anybody out there. Everybody does their own thing, and we do our own thing. But it was pretty interesting to chat with them, and we found out they were there. We thought, well, we got to do some kind of little video with them of some sort, and so we did. Kind of corny, I know. We grabbed Such. At least with Such, it was later in the day. We kind of had time to talk about it. FPS Russia, we met him right as soon as we got there. Had a little conversation, and we talked about doing something silly and little, and we went down in the car. And I didn't even know him, hadn't even chatted hardly, and we tried to put that little goofy thing together. I didn't know how long he was going to stay, and what was going to be happening once the shooting festivities really got underway. So we just kind of let's go down here and make fun of my car or something, and we'll just say whatever comes to mind. So anyway, that's how that kind of stuff kind of comes about. Granted, I am not a real actor, and neither is Such or anybody doing these shooting videos, I guess. But it's fun to get together and do some bad acting and just goof around a little bit. But that was kind of neat to talk to some other people because that do shooting videos, because we just don't have that many opportunities to do that. As I said, I communicate now and then. I'll go ahead and talk about that, I guess. One thing I do and have done, I know I did it early on with Nothing Fancy, and I did it, I don't know, a couple of months ago with FPS Russia. Occasionally you'll have troublemakers. Imagine that. Occasionally, that may not be a strong enough word, right? Trolls or people prowling around the internet that would like to cause a little trouble. Well, sometimes people will say things, trying to stir up trouble or stir up controversy, competition. I don't know. I know a year and a half ago, people would talk about Nothing Fancy on my channel, and I just delete that stuff if you talk about another YouTuber in a negative way. But or just start talking about he's better than I am, or I'm better than he is, or all that kind of stuff, and I just delete all that stuff. Don't want to get into it. It's goofy, and particularly if it gets into a conversation among people, get into a thread, Well, and I think Nothing Fancy does this, could do this better, and he'd kick Hickok's butt, and Hickok would do this. All that stupid stuff. It's almost like my dad's bigger than your dad or something, So, and all that, it's fairly innocuous, of course, but what I'm always concerned about is these people I've not even met, they're doing kind of the same thing we're doing. They're putting a lot of energy and time, maybe their heart and soul, into this YouTube endeavor. We're doing a lot of that, and I just wouldn't want anybody doing YouTube or doing anything in the public eye or in the internet to get the wrong idea and say, oh, well, how things get passed around, information gets changed as it moves through the pipeline. Someone, I saw over on Hickok said this, or it wasn't even Hickok, it was somebody on Hickok's channel, or someone on Nut and Fancy's channel said something. It wasn't even Nut and Fancy, it wasn't even FPS Russia, it was someone making a stupid comment on their channel, but they dragged it. Anyway, I let both those folks know early on, I don't put up with any of that stuff at all. If they ever hear anything that I said and it's not complimentary, you just exit off. It's BS, So anyway, it's just something you can probably relate to that you would just normally do as a matter of course, as you see weird comments and people say stupid things. So just kind of as a professional courtesy, I've touched base with those people, and I've exchanged emails with them, and but other than that, I didn't know FPS Russia. But again, this weekend seemed like a pretty good guy. How cool was it, though, to have access to all those firearms and all the ammunition that you wanted to fire in them, really? We got an email asked what kind of ammo that we were planning to shoot, what caliber we were bringing, and what we were going to shoot, and that's all we did. So they just made sure they had plenty of ammunition. And, I wish I could remember. Just got a follow-up message from them, email, a couple days ago, and they had outlined, I'll try to bring that to you. Maybe someone else already has. But the number of rounds fired, or that they donated or that were fired that day in each caliber, it was an enormous number. I remember that, and it was bigger than I thought it would be. But so anyway, thank them for that. That was a lot of fun. There'd been a lot of comments about, hey, how do I get to go to that thing and all this sort of thing. It really was an invitation only. It was for bloggers or kind of people in the media. That just people in the media, and I don't know what exactly the criteria was, but we were glad to be invited. I don't know who all was invited that just couldn't make it. Didn't realize how cool it was either. Maybe I know we contemplated not going, and but then we said, let's go. And, wow, I'm surely glad we went. But knowing how big it was and cool it was, I'd really hated to miss that. Where else you just go fire MG42 or a Thompson or Uzi, a BAR, a Scar, a Cannon, a Barrett, whatever. And you've got good-looking girls walking around carrying ammunition, supplying everybody with ammunition, the ammo girls, as they called them, I think. So I think Suit's got more footage of the ammo girls than John did. I'm going to have a chat with John about that. But great weekend, and you can go to something like that. Anybody can, and that's Knob Creek, of course, up in Louisville, a little south of Louisville. But twice a year, check their website. It's bigger than that in a lot of ways. They don't have the tanks and some of those things going on, but just about everything else. So it's not like that sort of thing is inaccessible to the public, because you can just drive to Knob Creek either in October or April. Pay I think it was just $10 to get in, maybe 20. I think it was just 10. Anyway, well worth it. And then you can pay additionally rental fees to shoot just about anything there. As long as the line's not too long. You can get in line and shoot a lot of cool stuff there. So anyway, that kind of thing is available. It's a great country, isn't it? I wanted to say a word about video games, because I spend so many hours a day playing video games. Yeah, you know better than that. But, I don't know. I've talked about this before, I guess. I've made comments. I've tried to wax philosophical about it, I guess. The video game folks that make comments on the video sometimes are a little inaccurate, maybe, because their only knowledge of firearms is from the video games, and I guess, as I've said before, and most of you do a pretty good job of that make comments and things. We need to have some patience with them, and I don't mean to be condescending, but there are a lot of people that as we know, and unfortunately, don't get to real shooting ranges and don't get to shoot real guns very often. I mean, think about it. A lot of kids raised in the city. Who knows where the dad is, and does the dad hate guns anyway? Or, just, all various sorts of scenarios come to mind where a 10-year-old, a 15-year-old, 16-year-old just doesn't get an opportunity to fire guns. And, the world loves video games. Not in my childhood, but I know back in when was it? Back in the 80s, video games were really popular. And I got to playing a couple of them too. They were the shooting ones. I can't remember what the name of that game was. Airplanes shooting at each other. But anyway, it was like right after Pac-Man. There were a few games that were pretty cool. Of course, you had to have a machine. There were no, some of them may have been computer-based at that time. I don't know. But anyway, I've played a few, but I haven't played them in years very much. When John was really little, he never did play them much, but we'd play them a little bit. And he was always so much better than I was. I never could manipulate those controls well enough. The shooting shouldn't be a problem for me, but it was just crazy. I don't know why I couldn't get the controls coordinated right or something. He would always clean my clock on that. Of course, he played them more than I did. But anyway, I know there's some really cool games out there now where the guns are very realistic and all that. And so, again, we just need to show some patience with those people and be glad that they are developing an interest in these firearms. I think it speaks well and is good news, really, for the Second Amendment. And you come right down to it. That and carry permits, people are finding that shooting is fun. It's really a grassroots movement. Always has been, I guess, shooting, because the only people who don't like to shoot are people who have not shot. Once you try it, you're hooked. We all know that. And so this is getting more people, into the arena, getting them hooked. Video games, however they come into it, that's great. And the carry permits, like I say, any number of people decide to get a carry permit and realize that, hey, this was primarily motivated by, self-defense or fear, living alone or living out in the country or living wherever, or just being in some dangerous areas. And then they realize when they go through the carry class that shooting is actually fun and want to go back and shoot some more and maybe buy more guns. So it's all good, however people get into it. So obviously there's going to be obnoxious people who play video games and who don't play video games. I mean, look at the trolls. They're not all video game players. They're from all walks of life probably, and all ages probably, motivated by a variety of different things: jealousy, ignorance, just poor upbringing, no class, you name it. We could go on forever on that. But anyway, one thing I was going to say about video games, who am I to say anything about someone else who plays a lot of video games? In some ways, I guess I have created my own video game in a lot of ways since the early 80s by acquiring my own property, setting up targets, and having firearms, and playing gun games. In a way, it's just a non-virtual video game, not quite as crazy or sexy, I guess, but still, shooting targets with guns and cool guns, semi-automatic guns, revolvers, fully auto every now and then, muzzle loaders. That's in a way kind of the ultimate game. It's not a video game, but it's an ultimate shooting game, isn't it? So anyway, we just need to have patience with those people if we can. I know they try our patience at times, don't they? Well, I probably shouldn't talk about this, but you guys that wade through and listen to these radio shows, you deserve maybe to get a little bit more information than others. I get a lot of grief for my Honda. It's funny, there's been a new wave recently, I guess, with all the new subscribers every day, that about every few months this comes up again about the about the fact that I drive a Honda. Even though I have a pickup truck, I have a Yukon XL, and I've had a lot of American cars, I tend to drive more fuel efficient, I guess, foreign cars probably most of the time. And so it just doesn't fit, and it destroys somebody's image of me. they're expecting, to really have me figured out. I guess good old redneck boy from Tennessee, got to be driving a pickup truck, wearing big boots and shooting big guns all the time, just like me. Well, I'm not like anybody really. I'm just like myself. I've always been a bit of a free thinker, and that's just the way I am. It's kind of a world market. I understand if you're somebody that you absolutely won't have anything foreign in your house or in your driveway. You got a legitimate point. You really do. But then again, for a lot of people, it's kind of like the old vegetarian issue. That people who think it's so horrible to shoot Bambi. I don't hunt, but people who come down against hunting always bother me, because they're probably going home and having a burger, or they're stopping at McDonald's for a burger, but they don't think you should hunt Bambi. Well, maybe not. I don't know. It just seems hypocritical to me, because they're just choosing which animals it's all right to kill. So my common line on that is that it is a shame. Poor Bambi has to die. I'm too squeamish to go shoot Bambi myself and hunt. Really, I just pay somebody else to do my killing for me, and then I pay them to wrap it in paper or cellophane and put it on the shelf at the Kroger store, so I can go just pick it up and bring it home, cook it. So anyway, at least I like to make people think a little bit if they're in that category. Now, there are people who won't even wear leather shoes or a leather belt, and they're living on beans and corn or whatever, tofu. Well, again, they've got a point. Let them have that point, and okay, at least you are putting your money where your mouth is. You're living what you preach. You're practicing what you preach, at least. Whether I agree with you is another matter, but at least you are practicing what you preach. Just like if you drive nothing but American cars, your computer, your TV, all your tools, all your clothes, all those, there's nothing in there from China or from anywhere other than the United States, made in the United States. You don't shop at Walmart. You don't get anything from that's made in China, Korea, or any Mexico, Canada, you name it. Hey, you got a good point then. You're practicing what you preach. But I think a lot of people just kind of get into this mode where they only look at cars, and they don't think about all the other stuff in their house. Their neighbor might drive a foreign car, but actually might spend less money on foreign goods than they do themselves. It just depends. So it would take quite an inventory to figure all that out, for one thing. Notwithstanding the fact that a lot of these cars we think of as foreign are made right here in the United States. So, but anyway, that's one of those issues that never dies. I just forget about all. I call them car bigots. To some extent. But anyway, I'm more of a free thinker. I have never fit a mold, so you'll have a hard time figuring me out totally. You just can't figure me out. Other than I'm pretty simple in most ways, but I'm usually not with the majority on a lot of things. Kind of think for myself. I'm not afraid to do something different. Getting into guns like I did, that in itself was different, I guess. I'm kind of a weird guy. I can enjoy sitting at the courthouse talking to the old guys playing checkers as much as I can enjoy talking to a Professor Vanderbilt. I used to have a job. What I did for a long time was traveling around talking to college professors and doctors, physicians particularly. I thoroughly enjoyed that, And here's one I don't let out very often. Don't want to ruin my image totally, but I am a Jehovah's Witness. No, just kidding. Sorry, didn't mean to offend you, Jehovah's Witnesses. No, actually, I was in college. Are you ready? Some of you kind of suspect this already. I was an English major. Yes, you'd never know that, would you? Big old redneck from Tennessee. But I was an English major. Yeah. And, of course, I was a scholarship basketball player, so there's a kind of a weird diversity there. leaving my Shakespeare class and go practice basketball. And, so it was a little bit different world in the 70s, late 60s and the early 70s for me in a lot of ways. But I enjoy reading Jeff Cooper just as much as Emerson or Thoreau, Shakespeare, The American Handgunner. I read almost every page of The American Handgunner. I enjoy it all. So, anyway, I'm hard to stereotype. Let's put it that way. I'm pretty weird. If you haven't figured that out by now, you haven't been watching enough of the videos. I am one weird dude. Okay? Speaking of weird, let's do the gun action of the week. Okay? Now, last week, I guess I kind of threw you a curve to some extent, but I'm trying to give some hints. Again, this is so difficult. It is so difficult. The guys in Canada, when I did the interview with them on the Canadian Reload radio show, they stumped me on one. I couldn't tell what it was. It's just really tough. But trying to get even with me. The gun last week was one that I guess you have not seen yet. So that does make it more difficult, doesn't it? Yeah, it's a jewel. I'm going to love it. Again, you're getting a little early heads up here because you've listened to this crazy radio broadcast, but I'll just say this much. It's a 686. Okay? I have not had a 686 for several years. And this is a Smith & Wesson 357 Magnum 686. That's what it was. Okay? I think you could tell it was a revolver. I gave you a little hint about it being a little beefier or something like that. And people have made a great suggestion several times. I should have the gun of last week with me, and I never do. But that's what it was. It was a 686 and a sweet one. You'll see it in a video here before too much longer, maybe. All right, now for this week, what do we have? Oh, man, I don't know how many hints I should give you on this one, but just listen up. That's all I can say. I'll just do all the things you might do with one. Let me even, I might even drop some rounds in here, sort of. I can't say too much, but, okay, you ready to listen? Okay, here we go. I'm going to drop a couple of rounds in. Wow. Okay, take those out. Now let's pull the trigger. Cock it. Cock it again. All right. Okay, you probably guessed this one just by the grin on my face. See the grin on my face? I thought you could. Okay, so good luck with that one. You probably heard that James R. Ness died, I guess, Friday. And some of you might not even know who he is. I don't know how many younger viewers listen to the radio show, but if you're young, unless you watch Westerns, you probably don't know who James R. Ness is. But he played Matt Dillon in one of the most successful television shows of all time. It was one of the longest running of all time. I don't know if I think maybe it was the longest running of all time. I know for a period of time it held that title. It was that distinction. It may not, now, but it ran for about 20 years, I think. And that was in the day when everybody watched it. You didn't have all these channels, and so the whole family generally would watch Gunsmoke, just like with Bonanza and other shows. That's why maybe your parents, your grandparents, your great-grandparents, they all seem to know about some of these old shows, because there weren't a lot of other shows on, and everybody watched them. Unlike today, you could grab 100 people who are 20 years old and get them to list their favorite shows or the shows they watch, and there'd be a little bit less overlap, and there'd be a lot of people who hadn't even heard of a lot of the other favorite shows probably, or had never even seen an episode at least. You have so many more choices now. and we all have our little areas we can go hide in. Same with music and the Dish Network or DirecTV or whatever, a million shows. So, but anyway, back in the day, Gunsmoke ruled, and James Arness was Matt Dillon, the sheriff of Dodge City. I think he was 88, maybe they said. But I watch him. He's on the Westerns channel. Gunsmoke's on once or twice a day. I record it, and I don't always catch it, but I probably watch a couple episodes a week. So Gunsmoke's been a part of my life, most of my life. Just a great show. If you get a chance, you see it, somewhere, and you've never seen it before, take a watch. There'd be an episode every now and then. It was kind of goofy. But that's partly because it was a family show, pretty much, and they knew everybody was watching it. It wasn't just the hardcore Western people, like some of us maybe. It was everybody, and the kids would be there, and everybody watching it. The women in the family, and so there'd be an episode maybe for a whole hour about, I don't know, maybe Kitty, the bar. The owner of the Long Branch Saloon maybe falling in love with somebody and it not working out, or something like that too, and no big bad guys to shoot it out with or anything that week. So you have a variety. So if you catch one like that, just be aware they're not all like that. There were some of the early ones, in fact. And I wasn't aware of that so much. I bought an episode or two of it here a couple of years ago. Some of the early ones were pretty hardcore. I was surprised. Matt Dillon was, man, he kicked butt and take names. It was different the first year or two. Kind of interesting to see those old episodes, because I don't think I had ever seen them before. So anyway, he was a great actor. In fact, he was the brother, many of you might know, to Robert Graves, who played in Mission Impossible and I think some of the Naked Gun comedy movies. Am I right there? And I didn't know that for a long time, but once I heard that or found out, I thought, well, that makes sense. They look alike. But Matt Dillon, gosh. By the way, he was also in a wonderful series later in life. Must have been 20 years ago now, and it's running on the Westerns channel. Coincidentally, right now, I think. I've seen a couple episodes in recent weeks, and that is How the West Was Won. Not the movie How the West Was Won, but it was a series with James Arness and some other people, and that was really well done. I thought I have enjoyed that. I wouldn't mind having the DVDs of that if they're available sometime. But James Arness, good guy. Everything I heard about him, that I ever heard about him, indicated he was a great guy. And he certainly played a great character, just about anything he played. So anyway, we'll miss him. Guess better wrap this up here before I get too long. We'll be doing some videos this summer. I'll have a little more time, and just depending on what we're doing, we may post 5 videos one week and one the next. So just whatever. We have a long list of things that we want to do, and we plan to get to a lot of it this summer. So hope you're watching. And I hope you get a chance to shoot yourself, not just watch goofballs on the internet shoot like myself. Get out there and take a few shots and help with the cause. So it's been good chatting at you, and wish I could chat with you a little more. But I'm sure I'll run into some of you at gun shows and in places this summer. We may be bopping in the Louisville Gun Show, by the way, next weekend. And possibly Friendship, Indiana, at the muzzleloading national championships they have up there every spring in June. So just a couple of possibilities there. If you see me, be sure you say hi. And you guys take care. It's been good talking to you. You've been listening to the Hickok45 radio show. See you on the range.